this video is about. She walked into the library, and the billionaire offered to reach her book. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The warm glow of the setting sun spilled through the large glass windows of the Oakwood Public Library, casting a golden hue across the wooden shelves lined with books. The faint scent of aged paper lingered in the air, a comforting aroma that beckoned to those who sought solace in the written word. It was a sanctuary for many, a place where stories came alive and imaginations roamed free. For Nora Langston, it was a refuge, a place to drown out the clamor of her life outside. Nora stepped inside, her worn leather satchel slung over her shoulder, filled with the remnants of her chaotic day. Her long, chestnut hair was pulled into a loose bun, tendrils escaping and framing her face, giving her an air of effortless beauty. She brushed a stray strand behind her ear, her green eyes scanning the vast expanse of spines, each one waiting to be discovered. The library was quieter than usual, the soft rustling of pages and the occasional whispering voice creating a symphony of tranquility that soothed her frayed nerves. As she made her way down the aisles, she reveled in the familiar sound of her boots softly thudding against the polished wood floors. This was her favorite time of day, when the library was her own, a world where she could lose herself in the stories of others. She paused in front of a shelf that held an array of classic novels, her fingers lightly grazing the bindings as she searched for her next read. Suddenly, a faint thud echoed behind her, followed by a deep, resonant voice. "Looks like I'm not the only one drawn to the classics." Startled, Nora turned to find a tall man standing just a few feet away. He was strikingly handsome, with tousled dark hair and sharp features that could only belong to someone who was used to getting what he wanted. His blue eyes sparkled with mischief, and Nora felt an unexpected flutter in her chest. She hadn't noticed him before, but now he seemed to dominate her attention, the kind of presence that filled a room. "Excuse me," she managed, trying to regain her composure as heat crept up her cheeks. He smiled, a charming, boyish grin that somehow felt both inviting and intimidating. "I said, I guess we both have good taste." He gestured toward the books behind her. "Are you a fan of the classics?" Nora raised an eyebrow, unsure if she should engage with him. "I suppose I am. They've stood the test of time for a reason." "True," he said, stepping a little closer. "I'm Alex Reed, by the way." He extended a hand, his grip firm yet gentle. "Nora Langston," she replied, hesitating only a moment before shaking his hand. His touch sent a ripple of warmth through her, and she pulled away slightly too quickly. "So Nora, do you need help finding anything?" he asked, glancing at the books on the shelf. "I must admit, I'm rather good at locating lost literary treasures. Actually, I'm searching for Wuthering Heights, but I think it might be one shelf over." She gestured toward a section she believed it to be. "Ah, a fellow admirer of the Brontes," he said with apparent delight. "One of my favorites, though I have to admit, I'm more of a Jane Eyre person myself." "Why?" Nora asked, her curiosity piqued. "What do you find so appealing about Jane Eyre?" He leaned against the bookshelf casually, and a hint of vulnerability broke through his confident facade. "She's fiercely independent and stands up for herself in a time when women had little power. I admire that kind of strength." Nora felt a flicker of connection in his words, a shared understanding of resilience that resonated deep within her. "I suppose we all want to have the courage to stand for what we believe in," she replied, her tone softer now. "Exactly," he said, his gaze holding hers for a moment longer than necessary, the air thick with unspoken tension. "Shall we go on an adventure to find your book, then?" Before she could respond, he was already walking ahead, his long strides carrying him down the aisle. Nora hesitated but soon followed, her heart quickening. They arrived at the next shelf and he reached up effortlessly, a slight chuckle escaping his lips. "I'll get it for you, just a moment." Nora watched him, the way his shirt hugged his muscular frame, the ease with which he moved. She felt an inexplicable pull, the kind of chemistry that sent shivers down her spine. As he retrieved the book, he turned to her, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "Here you go, one literary treasure." "Thank you," she said, accepting the book with a shy smile, feeling the weight of his gaze on her. "Do you come here often?" he asked, leaning casually against the shelf, his interest seemingly genuine. "Most days," she replied, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear again. "It's the only place that feels peaceful. I can escape everything else." He nodded, understanding flickering in his eyes. "I get that. Sometimes the world outside can be overwhelming." A moment of silence enveloped them, and Nora felt the connection deepen. She could sense a shared loneliness behind his confident exterior, an ache that echoed her own. Beneath the surface of their casual conversation, they both carried stories that yearned to be told. "I've been meaning to ask," he began, breaking the silence. "What's the last book that really moved you?" Nora hesitated, the question pulling her from her reverie. "I recently read The Night Circus. It's enchanting, almost like a dream. The imagery is beautiful and the love story, it's tragically beautiful." His expression shifted, curiosity peeking further. "I've heard of that one. It's supposed to be quite magical. You like romantic stories then?" "I do," she admitted, her cheeks warming as his gaze intensified. "There's something about the way love can transform us, make us braver." "I couldn't agree more," he replied, his tone suddenly serious. "Love has the power to change everything, even the most stubborn hearts." Nora felt the weight of his words linger in the air between them, the unspoken layers of vulnerability unfurling like the pages of a well-loved book. She couldn't help but wonder how much of his life he had laid bare to anyone before her. "Do you believe it's worth the risk?" she asked, the question escaping her lips before she could think better of it. He took a moment, his expression thoughtful. "Sometimes the greatest risks yield the greatest rewards, but it can also lead to heartbreak. It's a gamble, really." Their gazes locked, and a tension hung between them, one that spoke of uncharted territories and possibilities yet to unfold. Nora was captivated by the depth in his eyes, the way he seemed to understand not just the literary themes they discussed, but the very essence of human connection. "Do you gamble often then?" she teased lightly, her heart racing. "Only when the stakes are worth it," he replied, a smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. "And sometimes it's the unexpected encounters that yield the most surprising rewards." At that moment, Nora felt as though the world around them had faded away, leaving only the two of them suspended in a bubble of possibility. She couldn't shake the feeling that their meeting was no mere coincidence. Perhaps, just perhaps, this was the beginning of a very different chapter in her life, one that held the promise of connection, risk, and maybe even love. "Are you free for coffee?" she blurted out, the boldness surprising even herself. "Is that a gamble worth taking?" he asked, his grin widening. "Let's find out," she replied, her heart pounding, the thrill of uncertainty electrifying her senses. As they made their way toward the library exit, Nora felt a new story unfolding, one filled with uncharted adventures, laughter, and perhaps a love that could change everything. The air felt charged, and the possibilities danced around them like the soft dust motes catching the fading light. For the first time in a long while, she dared to hope. As they pushed through the heavy oak doors of the library, the soft hum of voices from the nearby cafe filled the air, mingling with the scent of brewing coffee. Nora felt a rush of exhilaration, her heart beating in time with the rhythm of their footsteps, each step into uncharted territory. She could hardly believe she had invited Alex for coffee. It was bold, slightly reckless, and undeniably thrilling. "Do you often approach strangers in libraries and invite them for coffee?" he asked, a teasing lilt to his voice as they approached the cafe counter. His tone was light, but there was a glimmer of curiosity in his eyes, as though he was trying to unravel the enigma that was Nora Langston. "Only the ones who can reach high shelves," she responded, unable to suppress a laugh. "You seem like a man of many talents. Reaching books on high shelves might be my most practical one," he joked, leaning close enough that she could see the tiny flecks of gold in his blue eyes. "What's your go-to order?" "Just a cappuccino," she said, her voice steady despite the warmth flooding her cheeks from his proximity. "Nothing fancy, but it's comforting. What about you?" "An espresso. I like to keep things simple and strong." His gaze held hers, and for a moment the noise around them faded into the background. "Like me." Nora raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Strong, huh? Is that confidence I detect, or are you just being cheeky?" "Maybe a bit of both," he said with a grin, revealing a dimple in his left cheek that made her stomach flutter. "But I like to think I'm more than just a pretty face." "Good to know, Mr. Strong and Cheeky," she replied, her lips curling into a smile. "I'm glad we're getting to know each other beyond just literary preferences." He leaned against the counter, folding his arms, and for a moment she felt as if they were co-conspirators embarking on a secret adventure. "What's your story, Nora?" he asked, his tone shifting slightly, an undercurrent of seriousness threading through his words. "What brought you to this library today?" She hesitated, feeling the weight of his gaze as she considered how much to share. The library was her refuge, a sanctuary from the disarray of her life, where the echoes of her past could fade into the background. "I guess I'm just searching for inspiration," she admitted, maintaining eye contact. "Things have been a bit chaotic lately. I lost my job a few months back, and it's been a bit of a struggle to find my footing again." His expression softened, and she could see the empathy in his eyes. "That sounds tough. I can't imagine how overwhelming that must be." "It is," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I like to think of it as an opportunity for a fresh start. I'm trying to write my own story, figure out what I really want." "Writing your own story," he echoed thoughtfully. "That's powerful. It takes courage to reinvent yourself." Nora felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. "Does it? Sometimes it just feels like I'm floundering." He shook his head, his tone reassuring. "No, it takes strength to acknowledge where you are and to strive for something better. We can all be a little lost sometimes." "Maybe you're right," she said, her heart swelling with the connection they were forging. "What about you? What's your story, Mr. Strong and Cheeky?" Alex chuckled, the sound rich and warm. "Well, I suppose I'm the classic tale of a boy who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, but I've always felt the weight of expectation on my shoulders. My family runs a successful business, and I'm expected to follow suit. But I've always wanted to carve my own path." Nora's curiosity deepened, intrigued by the vulnerability he was sharing. "What do you want?" she asked softly. "Honestly," he said, his voice dropping to a candid note, "I want to create something meaningful, something that helps others. I want to make a difference, not just be a name on a bank statement." Nora felt her admiration for him swell, the layers of his character revealing themselves like the peeling pages of an old book. "That's really admirable, Alex. It's rare to find someone who wants to do more than just exist." "Maybe that's why I'm here," he mused, a playful smile returning to his lips. "Seeking inspiration from the literary world just like you." They moved to a small table by the window, the late afternoon sun casting a warm glow over their drinks, and Nora felt a sense of intimacy enveloping them. She took a sip of her cappuccino, the warmth spreading through her, mirroring the energy that pulsed between them. "Tell me more about your writing," Alex prompted. "What do you want to write?" Nora took a deep breath, feeling lighter as she spoke of her dreams. "I've always wanted to write a novel, something that captures the complexity of relationships, the nuances of love and loss. I think we all have our own stories woven into the fabric of our lives, and I want to explore that through my writing." "Sounds like you have a passion for storytelling," he said, leaning forward, his blue eyes locking onto hers. "What's stopping you?" "Fear, I suppose," she admitted, her gaze breaking away to look down at her cup, the frothy foam swirling in a mesmerizing dance. "Fear of not being good enough, of failing. Fear can be paralyzing," he nodded, understanding lighting his expression. "But what if you see every failure as a step towards your success? What if you let your heart guide you instead of your fears?" His words resonated deeply within her, igniting a flame of determination. "I suppose I could try that," she replied, a spark of inspiration flickering to life. "Maybe I need to embrace the chaos instead of waiting for the perfect moment." "Exactly," he exclaimed, his enthusiasm infectious. "Just start writing. Let the words flow without judgment. You'd be surprised at what you can create when you let go of perfectionism." Nora found herself smiling at his encouragement, feeling the weight of her doubts begin to lift. "You might just be the best writing coach I've ever met," she said, laughter bubbling forth. "Only if you promise to share your drafts with me," he teased, leaning back in his chair, his gaze playful yet sincere. "Deal," she said, her heart swelling with an intoxicating mixture of excitement and uncertainty. "But only if you promise to share your dreams too." They fell into a comfortable rhythm, the conversation flowing effortlessly, punctuated by laughter and shared stories. She found herself captivated not just by his words, but by the man himself, the way he listened, the way he genuinely cared about her thoughts and feelings. Each moment they shared felt laden with potential, the kind that made her wonder just how far their connection could reach. As the sun began to set, casting a pinkish glow across the cafe, Nora noticed the way Alex's gaze lingered on her, a flicker of something more profound sparking between them. It was in the way his lips quirked into a smile, the way his laughter resonated with warmth. The chemistry was palpable. "Do you believe in fate?" he asked suddenly, tilting his head slightly, curiosity dancing in his eyes. "Fate," she echoed, considering his question. "I'm not sure. I believe we create our own destinies, but sometimes it feels like the universe conspires to bring people together for a reason." "Like us?" he asked, his voice low and inviting, the tension between them sharpening. "Perhaps," she whispered, feeling her heart race. "Then let's make a pact," he proposed, leaning closer as if sharing a secret. "Let's not let fear hold us back from this chance, from what could be." Nora held his gaze for a moment, weighing the possibilities. The connection they shared felt electric, charged with a promise of adventure and something more. "I like the sound of that," she said finally. "Let's see where this story takes us." And in that moment, as the sunset bathed the cafe in a golden glow, Nora felt the first stirrings of hope, a sense that perhaps she was finally ready to embrace the chaos of her life, ready to write the next chapter, and perhaps, just perhaps, discover a love that could change everything. As they sat across from each other, the late afternoon light streaming through the window, Nora felt an unexpected warmth envelop her, one that felt like a soft embrace on a chilly day. Alex's presence was magnetic, and she found herself drawn in, eager to explore not just the man sitting before her, but the possibility of a shared journey that lay ahead. "Tell me more about your dreams," Alex said, leaning forward, his elbows resting on the table, his expression earnest. "What else do you want to accomplish besides writing a novel?" Nora hesitated, the question pulling her into a familiar territory of self-doubt. Honestly, I want to inspire others, she admitted, her voice tinged with vulnerability. I've always believed that stories have the power to heal, to connect people. I want to write something that resonates with others, that reflects the beauty and complexity of human experience. That's beautiful, he said, a warm smile spreading across his face. You've already got the heart of a storyteller. The world could always use more kindness and understanding. His words sent a ripple of encouragement through her, and she felt a flicker of excitement igniting her ambition. Thank you, Alex. That means a lot, but it feels daunting at times, you know. Like I'm standing at the edge of a cliff, unsure of whether to jump or stay safe on solid ground. The best stories often start at the edge of that cliff, he replied, his gaze steady and reassuring. When you take that leap, you open yourself up to new experiences, new perspectives. Isn't that what you're hoping for? Nora nodded, the truth in his words resonating deeply. Yes, I suppose I am. I want to embrace life, to experience everything it has to offer. Then let's jump together, Alex proposed, his eyes sparkling with an infectious enthusiasm. Let's take that leap into the unknown and see what unfolds. We can support each other through the chaos. I'd like that, she said, her heart racing at the thought of embarking on an adventure with him. But what about your own dreams? You mentioned wanting to create something meaningful. What does that look like for you? He paused, contemplating her question as if weighing the depth of his response. I've always been passionate about environmental sustainability. I want to start a venture that focuses on eco-friendly technology, something that not only benefits the planet but also empowers communities. My family's business is rooted in tradition, and I respect that, but I want to innovate, to create a legacy that aligns with my values. Nora could see the fire in his eyes, the passion that fueled his ambitions. That sounds incredible, Alex. You're right. Our world needs that kind of vision, especially now. Thanks, he said, a hint of vulnerability breaking through his confident facade. I just feel like there's so much potential for change, and I want to be part of something that makes a difference. You already are, she affirmed, her voice steady. Just by recognizing the need for change and wanting to take action, you're already ahead of the game. They locked eyes, and for a moment, the cafe around them faded away, leaving only the two of them in their bubble of understanding and connection. The chemistry that had sparked between them felt electric, a current that pulsed with possibilities. Nora could feel the warmth radiating from him, a safe haven in the midst of uncertainty. What's your greatest fear? He asked suddenly, breaking the spell. The vulnerability in his tone made her stomach flutter. Not being enough, she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. Not being able to express myself in the way I want to. It's terrifying to think that my words might not matter, that I'll fall short of my own expectations. Alex leaned closer, the intensity of his gaze unwavering. Nora, your words matter. They have the power to change hearts and minds. You're already more than enough just by being yourself. Don't let fear keep you from sharing your voice. She swallowed hard, feeling the weight of his encouragement wash over her like a gentle tide. Thank you, Alex. It's just hard to believe sometimes. He smiled, a soft, understanding smile that made her feel seen. Believe it. You have a gift, and embracing it is the first step toward flourishing. Their drinks had long since cooled, forgotten in the warmth of the moment. Nora felt herself drawn to him in a way that transcended mere attraction. It was a connection that felt deep and meaningful, as if their souls were intertwined in a cosmic dance, each step leading them closer to something profound. Do you believe in love at first sight? She asked, her heart racing with the boldness of the question. Alex's smile morphed into a playful smirk, a glint of mischief dancing in his blue eyes. I believe in love at first conversation. There's something to be said about the chemistry between two people who can connect on a deeper level. Nora felt a blush creeping up her cheeks, the vulnerability of the moment palpable. "Is that what this is?" she asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. "Isn't it?" he challenged gently, leaning back slightly as if giving her space to explore the question. "I think it might be," she admitted, feeling the flutter of hope swell within her, mingling with the excitement of the unknown. "But it's also terrifying. What if it's just a fleeting moment?" "Moments are all we have," he replied, his expression earnest. "Life is a series of moments strung together, and sometimes those moments can change everything. What if this is one of those moments for us?" Nora held his gaze, her heart pounding. There was a depth in his eyes that spoke of understanding, of shared fears and dreams, and she felt herself leaning in. "Then I want to embrace it," she said softly. "I want to see where this chapter leads us." "Me too," Alex replied, his voice low and sincere. "Let's write this story together, one moment at a time." Before she could respond, a commotion erupted at the entrance of the cafe, pulling their attention away. A group of people spilled in, laughter echoing through the space, the atmosphere buzzing with energy. The intrusion felt jarring after the tenderness of their conversation, but Nora couldn't help but smile at the warmth it brought. "Looks like we're not the only ones seeking inspiration today," Alex said, his tone playful again, as he observed the joyous chaos around them. "Maybe we should join them," she suggested, glancing at the lively group. "It could be fun." "Only if you promise to be my partner in crime," he said, his playful demeanor returning, and she laughed. "Deal," she replied, her heart leaping at the prospect of shared laughter and spontaneity. They stood up and made their way toward the crowd, the energy palpable. The group was animated, engaged in spirited discussions about upcoming events in the community, and Nora felt a thrill run through her. Sharing this moment with Alex, surrounded by laughter and excitement, felt like a celebration of new beginnings. "Have you ever been to one of these events before?" he asked, his voice rising above the chatter. "Not really, but I'm open to new experiences," she replied, her gaze scanning the scene. "It feels nice to be part of something lively." "Then let's dive in," he said, grabbing her hand playfully and leading her toward the center of the group. The warmth of his hand wrapped around hers sent a shiver of excitement coursing through her. As they mingled, laughter bubbled between them, and Nora felt a sense of ease envelop her. They shared stories with the group, their chemistry evident as they exchanged playful banter. Alex's charm drew people in, and she found herself captivated, not just by him, but by the sense of community that surrounded them. The event was filled with various activities, games, poetry readings, and art displays. Alex pulled her toward a small stage where a local author was giving a reading of her newly published work. Nora listened intently, feeling a sense of inspiration wash over her, the author's words igniting her own creative spirit. "Maybe one day that'll be you," Alex whispered, leaning in closer, his breath warm against her ear, sending a thrill down her spine. "Maybe," she replied, her heart racing at the possibility. "With a little bit of courage, anything is possible, right?" "Exactly," he said, his gaze locking onto hers, the moment stretching between them, charged with unspoken promises. As the reading concluded, they applauded enthusiastically, and Nora felt a swell of gratitude for this day. The chance encounter in the library, the conversation over coffee, and now, this vibrant community gathering. It felt like a turning point, a moment that could redefine her story. With the sun setting in the distance, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Nora turned to Alex, her heart full of hope and possibility. "Thank you for today. I didn't expect any of this." "Neither did I," he admitted, his expression softening. "But I'm glad we took the leap together." "Me too," she said, her heart swelling with an unnameable emotion. "I feel like I'm finally starting to write the life I've always wanted." As they stood together, hand in hand, the world around them pulsed with energy and laughter, and Nora knew that this was just the beginning of an extraordinary. With the sun dipping below the horizon, the Oakwood Public Library and the cafe buzzed with warmth and liveliness, contrasting beautifully with the cool evening air that seeped through the doors. Nora felt an exhilarating blend of excitement and nerves swirling in her chest as she stood beside Alex, watching the jubilant chaos unfold. It was a revelation to be here, surrounded by laughter and creativity, yet somehow it all felt like a backdrop to the unfolding connection between them. "Do you want to join the poetry reading next?" he asked, his voice laced with playful curiosity as he turned to her, his blue eyes sparkling in the fading light. "I promise to cheer you on if you decide to take the stage." Nora chuckled, a mixture of amusement and disbelief bubbling forth. "Me? Read my poetry in front of a crowd? I think I'd rather jump into the lake. I'm not quite ready for that kind of spotlight." The thought of baring her heart in front of strangers sent a thrill of fear racing through her. "Why not? You've already taken quite a leap asking me for coffee," he countered, his voice teasing but gentle. "What's a little poetry in comparison?" "Yeah, but that was just coffee, between two people who might never see each other again," she reminded him, her heart racing at the thought. "This is a whole audience. There's a difference." "Is there?" he pressed, his expression playful yet sincere. "Every story deserves to be told, and you have a story worth sharing. Besides, I'd be right there in the front row, cheering you on like your biggest fan." Nora felt a warmth bloom in her chest at his encouragement. "You really think so?" she asked, a flicker of hope lighting her gaze. "I know so," he responded earnestly, his voice dropping a notch. "You have a light about you, Nora. It's infectious. You speak about your dreams with such passion, it makes others want to listen. Sometimes you have to trust that the world is ready for your voice." She bit her lip, feeling an intoxicating mix of fear and courage swirling within her. There was something about his unwavering belief in her that made her want to embrace that fear, to let it fuel her creativity rather than hinder it. Maybe it was time to step out of her comfort zone. "Okay," she said suddenly, surprising herself. "I'll do it." "Really?" He grinned, his excitement palpable. "You won't regret it, I promise." Nora felt an electrifying rush as she glanced towards the small stage, the thought of sharing her words igniting a fire within her. "Just promise me you'll be honest, okay? No sugarcoating if I bomb." "Deal," he laughed. "But I doubt you'll bomb, just speak from your heart." As if on cue, the MC announced the next act, and Nora felt her stomach twist with anticipation. "All right, I'll need a moment to gather my thoughts," she admitted, stepping back from the crowd. "Just give me a second." "Take your time," he said, following her a few steps away, his presence steadying her racing thoughts. "I'll be right here, waiting like a proud parent at a school recital." She shot him a playful glare, feeling the warmth of his encouragement seep into her bones. "No pressure, right?" she retorted with a mock sigh. "None at all," he assured her, his gaze unwavering. "Just be you." With a deep breath, Nora closed her eyes, recalling the words that had swirled in her mind for so long. She thought of the stories she wanted to tell, the emotions she wanted to express, the beauty and chaos of life that had shaped her. Beneath that rush of anxiety, she felt a flicker of excitement light up her heart. "Are you ready?" Alex's voice cut through her thoughts, grounding her in the moment. "You've got this." She opened her eyes to find him watching her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. "Ready as I'll ever be," she replied, a tremor of determination lacing her words. As she stepped toward the stage, a wave of apprehension washed over her. The cafe was filled with faces, some curious, others engaged in conversation, but all eyes turned toward her as she took the mic. The chatter hushed, and the spotlight felt unbearably bright. Nora fidgeted with the microphone, her heart hammering in her chest. "Hi," she managed, her voice echoing slightly in the silence. "I'm Nora, and I'd like to share a piece I've been working on." She glanced at Alex, who was leaning forward in his seat, his expression encouraging, and that simple gesture eased the tension in her shoulders. The words flowed from her lips, her heart pouring out in a rush of vulnerability as she spoke about dreams, fears, and the beauty of writing. She poured herself into her piece, every emotion she had struggled with woven into her words. As she finished, the cafe erupted into applause, a rush of exhilaration flooding her. She blinked back tears, overwhelmed by the moment, by the connection she felt with the audience. The mixture of joy and relief was intoxicating. "You did it!" Alex exclaimed as she stepped down from the stage, enveloping her in an enthusiastic embrace. "You were incredible, I told you." "Thanks," she breathed out, her heart still racing, a euphoric high coursing through her. "I can't believe I actually did that." "I can," he said, his eyes sparkling. "You have a gift and you need to keep sharing it. This was just the beginning." "I feel so alive," she admitted, the words slipping out as they moved back into the crowd. "I didn't know it could feel like that." "It's what happens when you embrace your truth," he replied, a knowing smile on his lips. "You just took a leap and it paid off." They rejoined the vibrant conversations, laughter echoing around them, and Nora felt the warmth of the moment wrap around her like a comforting blanket. She watched as Alex effortlessly charmed those around them, his laughter infectious, his energy drawing people in. "Where do you get that charm?" she teased, nudging him playfully. "Just a natural talent," he quipped, flashing her a grin that made her stomach flutter. "Or maybe it's just that I'm surrounded by inspiring people." Nora felt her cheeks flush at the compliment. "You really know how to make someone feel good about themselves, don't you?" "Only because I believe it," he replied, sincerity threading through his voice. "But I think it's your turn now. You have to share the spotlight." "I don't know if I'm ready for all that," she said, a playful glint in her eye. "I might need more espresso before I take over the world." "Let's get you that espresso then. And after that, we'll find a way for you to take over the world," he said, mock seriousness veiling his expression. They made their way to the cafe counter, and as Nora watched him order, she felt a sense of warmth blossom within her. It was more than the thrill of sharing her poetry. It was the exhilaration of connecting deeply with someone who understood her dreams, her fears, someone who seemed to see her. "Here," Alex handed her a steaming cup, his fingers brushing against hers, sending another bolt of warmth zinging through her. "This should give you enough fuel to conquer the next stage." "Thanks," she said, taking a sip, the rich flavor igniting her senses. "I think I might just take you up on that." As they wandered back into the crowd, Alex's hand found the small of her back, guiding her through the throng of people. His touch felt both electrifying and reassuring, tethering her to the present moment. "You've got this," he murmured, leaning closer to her ear, his breath warm against her skin. "Remember, every story is worth telling, and you have so many stories to share." Nora felt an unexpected rush of emotion as she met his gaze, the intensity of his gaze igniting something deep within her. "I want to tell them," she whispered, the weight of his encouragement wrapping around her like a warm embrace. "And I want to do it with you by my side." "Then let's make that happen," he replied, a playful smile tugging at his lips. "I'm ready for this adventure, wherever it may lead us." As they shared another laugh, Nora felt a sense of anticipation welling up inside her. The night was still young, and the world around them was alive with possibility. And for the first time in a long time, she felt ready, not just to explore her dreams but to embrace whatever came next, hand in hand with the man who had ignited a spark of courage within her. In that moment, she realized she was not only writing the story of her life, but intertwining it with another. One filled with laughter, shared dreams, and perhaps a budding romance that could change everything.